Paint splatters on screen revealing a series of images, a woman playing violin, then in a bright pink costume, then in a blind skier penny atop a mountain. The paint drip splatters revealing text in print and braille. Unsightly opinions.
Hi, welcome to Unsightly Opinions. My name's Tamara. Today we are going to be baking a 1,000 subscriber celebration cake. I cannot tell you how over the moon I am that so many of you wanted to support the channel. It is incredibly humbling and inspiring and keeps me wanting to create videos for you. So thank you all so much. Over on Patreon, there was a resounding response saying that they wanted to see me bake a cake. So we are going to be doing that to celebrate today, and I'm not much of a cake decorator, but I'm gonna do my best and we're gonna see how we do. I'm hoping to make a funfetti cake because this is all about celebrating. I am going to layer it with some fresh nectarine preserves and top everything off with some cream cheese icing because that is my favorite. I am going to use a boxed cake mix just because it's a little bit easier and then I don't have to do quite as much measuring, but I'm sure it's going to taste just delightful either way. Because I'm using a gluten-free cake mix, they don't tend to rise quite as much. They also tend to make smaller cakes, so I'm going to be making a double batch of cake today. Ah! It's going well so far. I'm dropping nothing. Open up that cake, dump in powder, and then I'm going to be doubling the instructions on the back. I already have my oven preheated to 350 degrees, and we need to add 2/3 of a cup of vegetable oil, 4 eggs, and a cup of milk, and I'll be using oat milk today. So as per usual, I'm gonna find and feel for the measurements on the side of my cup to kind of know where 2/3 is at, and I'm gonna kind of match it with my thumb on the inside of the jar.
Here I'm just pouring until I feel the oil touch my finger in the measuring cup.
Oh, just touch my finger. Dump that in. Get our oat milk in. Same method, just feel for the edge, and then when it touches my thumb. There we go. 1 cup. Baking can be a little messy when you can't see, but that's okay. It's about what you create in the end, right? So in's going the milk. And time for 4 eggs. Ah! And I have no way of telling if I get eggshell in. So we're just gonna hope. A little extra crunch for somebody if I make a mistake. Maybe while I'm cracking these eggs, I should talk about some of the plans I have for the near future on this channel. I'm hoping to continue to make videos, and I'm working on getting higher and higher quality. I'm working on trying to get some better audio. I have lots more guide dog content coming your way, and I'm hoping to do more very tutorial based and also creative based projects. So that's something I'm very much looking forward to. I'll be right back. I gotta wash my hands. They're covered in all kinds of nastiness. Let's mix this all together. I don't have one of those fancy stand mixers, so I'm just gonna do it the old-fashioned way. And then we get the fun part. We're gonna, ooh, it's already exploding in sprinkles. My sprinkles are too excited. I'm gonna just add a bunch of sprinkles. I don't know, I know you're supposed to put a lot, so we'll start with that and we'll see what Robbie thinks. Is that too many? And I'm just gonna fold them in so that the colors don't run. That's what the Great Canadian Baking Show taught me. I've been watching too many baking shows. Does that look like an adequate level of sprinklage, or should it have more fun?
Looks about right to me.
Okay, well if it looks right, we need to add more. Whoa, that was too many. Okay, now that's too many. My too much gene is coming out today. Whoopsies. That's okay. It's mostly going to melt in the oven anyways. You're not going to get any crunch of sprinkles, but we are wanting the fun colors on the inside. I have pre-cut parchment paper onto my 3 layers. And I'm just going to use a little bit of oil to help stick the parchment into the pan. That should help hold it down. And then I'm just to the edge of my strips for the side and do the same thing. So it holds this ring of parchment for the sides of the cake tray in place. And this is mostly so that the cakes are going to come out easier. And if any of my baking techniques suck, somebody let me know, because I'm always learning. I love to discover new ways of baking and creating. It's about the fun. That's what it's about. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's about fun. It's gonna pour over my finger, but that's mostly so I can tell how much is coming in.
Just noting that this did not work very well, so don't do what I do for the strips on the side.
One of these.
Let's hyperspeed through a little bit of the cake batter pouring. I use my fingers to do mostly what eyes would do in this situation, so I pour the batter over my fingers so I can feel how much is coming out and how quickly, and I use my fingers in the cake pans to tell how deep the batter is to make it even between pans. When I'm putting things in the oven, I use a few different methods. In this case, I put my cakes on a cookie sheet, and I could feel with the cookie sheet to tell where the trays were so I could slide it into the oven. Once I had the cakes in, I took my other cookie sheet with my third cake and felt with one hand in an oven mitt to tell where the bottom tray was so I could slide that in.
Okay. While the cake bakes, I'm going to get started on the filling and icing. So for the filling, I'm thinking of doing a nectarine whipped cream layer, and I'm thinking of doing a nectarine jam layer. So I have these preserves that are from my dad's house last summer. We're gonna open these up, and I'm gonna try and strain most of the liquid out. Put it through a strainer and just let it sit for a minute. And we're gonna use the liquid from the jam to add to our whipped cream base, which we're gonna start right away here. I'm also going to be making the cream cheese icing, which is going to be just plain old cream cheese icing. So I usually, when I'm making whipping cream, don't really measure all too much. I'm just gonna kind of do what feels right and go with that. I'm gonna add some of the liquid that's been strained out of the nectarines that we're gonna use for the jam to give the whipping cream a little bit of flavor. And it's sweetened, so we shouldn't have to add too much icing sugar to the whipped cream. But I also don't wanna go too much liquid in the whipping cream to make it runny. A little splash. And I'm gonna add just a little bit of icing sugar to the whipped cream. Not too much, just a tiny bit, so that it has a little bit of sweetness to it. Okay, I'll join back in with you once I've got this cream whipped up, because we're gonna be doing this for about 5 minutes. All right, I think we've got stiff peaks. That's gonna make a nice light center. So I'm gonna pop this back in the fridge while we're waiting, and we're gonna get on to the icing for the outside of the cake. Clean beaters for a third time, and I'm going to empty 2 packages of Philadelphia cream cheese, which have been warming up on the counter for a couple of hours now, into my bowl. I drive most people crazy in the kitchen, especially Robbie, because I don't like to measure things. I just kind of go by the seat of my pants. Usually it turns out though, so I haven't learned to not do that. Can be dangerous when it comes to baking, but again, you're gonna see me just kind of wing it. I've made cream cheese icing so many times, I have a really good sense of what goes where and in what quantities, so I'm not overly concerned. Second block in. I'm gonna add just a tiny bit of vanilla extract, just a few drops here. I find this particularly difficult to measure. I'm gonna add just a little bit of icing sugar to give it some sweetness, but not too much. If I can get the jar open, that is. Feel free to get back in here. This is probably about I'd say 2 blocks of cream cheese, 1 cup of icing sugar. If you're trying to follow along at home, which I strongly discourage because I'm giving 0 measurements. And then we're gonna beat this up and then pick an interesting color. I'm gonna try and chop up this cream cheese a little bit, just so that when I turn on the beater, the icing sugar doesn't fly 10 feet into the air. It's a mistake I've made, sadly, more than once. So just kind of mushing it with the paddles and a finger. And this is feeling pretty thick, but we'll see how it goes.
Let's fast forward through the loud parts again. While I'm just beating the icing, all I did was add some blue and purple food coloring and scrape down the sides to make sure I was getting a nice even color until I ended up with a really pretty lavender color that Robbie thought was perfect.
I think our cakes have cooled enough now, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my Lazy Susan here and I'm going to put a little bit of icing down the middle to help anchor our cakes, and hopefully they come out in one piece.
All I'm doing to get the cakes out of the pan here is flip them into my splayed palm and jiggle it a little bit until it comes loose.
Please stay together, please stay together, please stay together, please. Okay, we're mostly together. Is that roughly centered?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm gonna remember to peel off the parchment paper, because that would be a very nasty surprise. Do this very poorly. Dump it on top.
Now I'm doing the preserve layer on the bottom.
Spread it to the sides and use my fingers to tell when I'm close.
And I just use a knife in my fingers to tell that it's getting all the way to the edge.
I think I got the perfect amount. Yay, okay. I'm good with that. Let's go for layer number 2.
I'm repeating the process to get it out of the pan and lay it on top here, which is very hard.
Okay. Either way, it's on top mostly. It's relatively intact. Now it's our whipped cream layer.
And I'm using the same process of a knife and a finger to make sure I'm getting it all the way to the edges and nice and smooth.
For the edge, and on you go. Yay! Okay, okay. So far so good.
I'm impressed.
It's a nice tall cake. I don't really have the patience for a crumb coat, so we're just gonna soldier on ahead.
I find icing a cake to be one of the most difficult things to do when you can't see, so if you have any tips, please let me know. I used a piping bag with no nozzle to try and do a spiral on the top of the cake. That was a little bit easier to do, and then I couldn't really tell on the sides where I'd been, so I just went around and around and around, over and over with a spatula until it was iced.
How's that look? Do we have decent coverage? I don't want to touch it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah? Not bad for a completely amateur baker. Okay, these are balls. These are good. We're gonna write 1,000 on top in balls.
On the top of the cake, I tried to spell 1,000 in print using edible ball bearings. If I was smart, I would have tried to do it in Braille. That's much less complicated. But anyways, you live and learn. I tried to get it right, and Robbie helped me out a whole bunch, and I still didn't do it very well. And you'll hear about that in just a minute when he describes the cake.
Closer to the 1, further to the right, further right. Now you're at the top of the 0.
You're not saying anything. That means it's not going well.
Well, let's see. There's maybe a few more balls there than there ought to be. Looks like a couple of the O's are maybe overlapping like Olympic rings a little bit, but
no.
That's 1,000, ladies and gentlemen.
I tried so hard. Okay, what color is this chunk?
It's like white, maybe
This one?
sparkly white, gold.
Okay, we're gonna go gold. I'm just gonna kind of just sprinkle the edge of the cake.
This is where things really started falling apart for me. I tried to go around the top edge of the cake in gold sprinkles because I thought that was going to be really fancy and pretty and maybe save my cake from my hideous 1,000. But that wasn't the case because I couldn't tell how many sprinkles were coming out, and sometimes it was none, and sometimes it was giant clumps of sprinkles, so it was really uneven and definitely unattractive.
Even you can't sugarcoat it and make it sound nice. It looks
You know,
awful.
If I paid for that cake and I got that, there's a degree at where your expectations have been failed so miserably that it becomes something new and something special. So I'd be really happy with that.
Oh, you're making it's that tragic. Okay. I'm glad we've reached the level of failure that you feel sorry for me. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay, I do have an idea.
Let's hear it.
I'm crying. I need a tissue. We're gonna fix it. We're gonna rescue it. I'm gonna get a new piping bag. We're gonna pipe the outside in the whipped cream.
Great.
scan it. Know that I put in 150% of my effort, and even though it didn't work out, I sure tried. This is why I don't bake people cakes. It's the decorating part. I can make good cakes. It's just not gonna look very nice.
I think that's the charm, though. I think that's what you need to lean into.
The Unsightly baker?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? We're just having fun at this point, so it doesn't matter that I just touched the side of the cake with the piping bag. The piping bag is broken! Oh no! Oh no! Okay, let me just shore up the hole with my finger. Have I gone around yet?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Are you gonna tell me?
You just made it.
Oh. Oh, good. Okay, I'm gonna just...
Yeah, you're going there, too. Oh, you're straight lining it. That's,
That's a mistake?
that was not, the thing to do.
I've run out of icing.
Great.
So let's do the final reveal. Please describe my truly unsightly cake.
Well, it looks like a blueberry yogurt kind of. It does say 1,000. I mean, the Olympic rings 0. You
Okay.
have to use a little bit of imagination there. Wow, the icing around the rim is just, it's so sad. It goes all the way around pretty nicely and then just slunks over and goes halfway down and doesn't even connect. The sprinkles, they look appetizing. The Lazy Susan looks like it's a hot mess.
It is. It's what I've been using with my gooey fingers to turn the thing. And I find it incredibly difficult to tell where I am on the cake, to know where I've been before. I genuinely tried really hard. Really, really, really hard.
I, for one, am very pleased with how it turned out.
You are? It's a unintentionally unsightly cake. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this. I'd ask if you wanted to see more unsightly baking, but who wants to see more of me having a disastrous time in the kitchen? Although I must say, I had an absolute joy trying to create this cake for you all. I'm sure it's going to be delicious despite its unsightly nature, but that's all I have for you for today. Thank you so much for all of your support. Here's to the next milestone. I'm so excited to see where this channel is headed. Thank you all again, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.